And then we come to Python. This is one of my favorites. Why is this one of my favorites? Well, because I've gotten ChatGPT to create me a nice man in the middle proxy here. Let me get this thing on screen. So what this man in the middle proxy does is it has quite a few features, and I will put this code as well in the description, but you can see that it imports a few things from like the way that we talk to these APIs is through the requests Python module. Then the Kenter, Jesus Christ, I cannot pronounce that. This thing right here, that is to show things on screen. And then of course OS interactions to save things and CSV as well. And then you can see that there are Burp Suite certificates that are automatically imported if you define them, otherwise you can import them yourselves, and preferences.json to save the preferences of what you are doing there. You can also of course use the last session.json, and what that is going to do, all of those things, is you can see my little friend here. This is what has been created by Python, and I can't, oh yeah, no, I can't resize the window. So that's a problem. I need to add resizability and stuff like that. But the thing is that this is my little friend here. And you can see here that you can save your session, load your session, but you can also save your preferences. So if you have something specific set up where it's like I want form data with put, and I want this here and this here, and I want to have, for example, I want to have the proxy set properly, you can save that preference, and then you also have like a little history of all the requests that you've been doing, and you can fuzz APIs with this. So if I want to fuzz an API with this, you can see already that I've put the localhost proxy in here. I'm going to remove that for now. If I want to talk to this API, I don't want to fuzz. All I have to do is put in a fuzz thingy. So fuzz, and that's going to be replaced with whatever I put here. So attack vector A, this attack vector, maybe this attack vector. And then you can fuzz those parameters. Yeah, the button is a little bit off screen here, but while fuzzing it, it'll send all of those requests, and at the same time, that's cool, isn't it? Because while other tools, be very careful with this, because I don't want you to do this on, for example, a target which says only 5 requests per second. There you cannot do this. You cannot, because if you have more than 5 entries in your list, you're going to go over that request limit. So be extremely careful if you use this. I might even put this out before I put the code online, because I don't think that this should be used haphazardly. So Python, really good, really awesome to work with here, but you need to know how to work with Python, because this is already 270 lines of code, and I wrote nothing of this myself. I got ChatGPT to write it for me instead, and that's the cool thing with ChatGPT, is it can do these types of things for you. So if we go back for a moment to the other Chrome screen that we had, there we go, Python. What do we say about Python here? We know that Python can be used to interact with APIs. It gives you an overview of Python's API libraries, what am I saying here? Overview of Python's HTTP libraries. There's like a few HTTP libraries that are used, but sometimes requests is used, sometimes for SOAP it's different. It all depends, but you have to be able to know how to work with Python. And I always set up a virtual env. Virtual env means that if you have like little modules that you want to import, you can define them on a virtual environment. So I have one environment, and I'm going to set modules on there, and then if I want to test something else, I can have another module. Some really important modules here are, of course, requests, and I'll zoom in a little bit so you guys can see now. Zoom in, not zoom out. So requests matter a lot here. HTTP.client, and there are some others as well, but requests will be often used. And then making basic get and post calls, you can see that here. We have that in our code as well. So if I go back to the code, maybe that's a little bit better visible here. But the requests are made actually like this. Here you can see requests.request. the method, the URL, the headers, the data, and then JSON data and proxies. So I set a lot of data here. The proxy URL matters a lot for me. I'm thinking, is there anything else important? Well, you can do get request, post, put, of course. Just add that request method in there. I like to do it this way with variables because then I can pass the variables through. I can pass those through as well, like method URL, etc. as a variable. Setting custom headers, we've done that as well. Yeah, the headers is something that I add in here as well, by the way. Off token, you can see that in here. That's in the headers. That's going to go into the headers. That's why I put that in here. And you can also put it in here. So if you have like a bearer token, that works. You can do authenticated requests. Sending JSON data, we've shown you that, so that's okay. And then of course the JSON data itself. Maybe it's important if I show you what the JSON data looks like, but it's just like this. That's the JSON request. Also important to mention maybe, how can you get that JSON request data? So if we come back to here for a moment, we can see, for example, if we try this request, we get some stuff, but that's not in JSON data, so that's okay, we don't need that. A post here. A post, we can try that. We have data and it's form data in this case. If I scroll a little bit down, you'll see that this is JSON data. It's done differently, but that's how you get your JSON data, by just trying it out. You look at the request, or you can just grab it from here. Like in the descriptions, it'll be as well. Okay, so that's how you need to make sure that you have your value set properly. We saw JSON data, we saw form data. Form data is variable equals value. Then, if you want to check the response code, it's possible. I don't have that in here. No, I think I do. I have the response codes in here, but it's different. Like, I don't check specifically for the response codes. I check for errors. Error handling is important, of course, because if I were to do something like this, where there is no real URL, it also tells me that error invalid URL, no schema supplied. Perhaps you meant HTTP. So you can see that this error handling here even gives you suggestions on how to what to do better. No, that's just a video that I was watching of myself because I'm the best hacker ever. You can ask my mom. She tells me that every day. So we have other request methods that we can do. We know that. We can even post files if you really want to. File upload, for example. You can also download them and save them locally. I'm just giving you ideas here for your own scripts because I can give you a script, but it's better if you write your own, or at least have your own written. But you need ideas of what you're able to do with these things. So remember, error handling, we've gone over that. Different request methods, different bodies, different checking the responses. Then getting that response data into a variable. Now we're going to create a session for persistent storage of parameters, cookies, etc. We can do that with requests.session. It's the same as if you were to open a browser and a session would start, just so you know. And then from there on out, you can do s.get instead of requests.blah blah blah. It's session.get. Then streaming large files, if we look at that, we can do that as well. These are some advanced things that you can do. I don't work with this, so I'm not even putting it in there. You can also have a cookie jar in the requests module. I don't know if you know what that means, but if you want to play or handle cookies, you can do that through requests as well. And adapters for transports for advanced connection behavior. But we won't go too deep into that. I just put it in here as some extra ideas. Start low, start slow, make some simple requests, and then see what you really need to have. Build that out. The overview, we have the http.client, we have URL with other third-party libraries, but I just use requests often. Why is that? Because requests just works most of cases. If it really doesn't work, you can look at other libraries, but use requests. It's just the most stable. It has the most options possible for me at least. Sometimes http.client or URL-lib are required, but those are rare cases. You can combine the Python logic with API requests as well. So if there is like a request and the response is needed in a further request, you can automate that logic as well, such as data retrieval fast tasks, or you can even just write your own framework in Python that will automatically test these like things that you want. For example, with a file input, it can automatically test for cross-site scripting and SQL injection. Well, you might want to have something that does that periodically. You can do that through Python, because Python you can make a script and run that on a regular basis. Just something that you can give your customers if you're a pen tester. Very important, because then you can have repeatable things. Avoid hard coded credentials. Duh, I don't think I need to tell that anymore. My dumbass does that sometimes, even though, so don't worry too much. I mean, it's normal, I guess. You're sometimes too deep into it, but try to remember this. The thing is, I don't do that anymore, of course, but I see that a lot. I see it a hell of a lot still. Rate limiting and respecting API guidelines is what I said with the tool I have built. I make requests one after the other, even directly, not even waiting for the rest. So respect the testing guidelines, of course, and build in some error handling, especially if you have longer running scripts and some persistence, like this, for example. This window stays open when I play with my Python thing, so that way I can now play with this one. You select it. So I have things that I've put in here, file, save the different things, export the history to CSV, all useful for myself for later. You can build in things for your own frameworks if you want to. I mean, you have to do that, especially if you want to do any type of testing with Python. It starts low and slow. You're just going to make a few requests, but you'll soon see that you want to have those requests for later. So you'll store those requests, and then you need something else, and etc. And it begins to build. That's how it grows. Thank you, amazing hackers. Much love. See you in the next one.